Hello everyone, welcome back to the Age of Warhammer. My name is Valhamma. I'm back with a very exciting one for you today. This is the Cadia Stands box, new army box for the Astra Militarum, the Imperial Guard re-release for 9th edition. I'm so excited for this one. I've been waiting for this for years now. Guard were my first army when I started 40k back in the early noughties. I think it was actually 2000. The first box I ever bought for myself was a set of 20 plastic Cadia Stands. Who are still doing their dutiful service to the Emperor to this day. Not my models, but that kit. This is obviously a completely new set of models. It's a complete re-release for the Cadians in particular. I'm really excited. So let's get stuck in. Let's first of all show you the outside of the box. So the Cadia Stands box comes with a brand new piece of artwork on the front, which got teased on Warcom. The Cadians in their full-on surge against the Orcs, which is very cool. Nice Commissar in the middle there, some servo skulls, the new Rogal Dawn tank at the back there. Really, really nice piece. Not quite sure what this one's doing eating her chainsword, but we'll let that go. Clearly she's just a bit keen. On the back, got a really nice kind of overview of what you get in the box. I suspect that section there, the actual models, that'll be what becomes the combat patrol. That's what we've seen with things like the Black Templars. And I think with the Orcs as well, where that kind of collection of models just carries over. You get 20 shock troopers, 2 of the weapons batteries, which forms a single unit. A Sentinel can be built either as an armoured or a scout, and then a command squad. It does say that these are specifically Cadian shock troops and Cadian command squads. When we do the Codex review, which is the following video to this one, I'll do it in a separate video. I will go through why they are specifically named that. But for the purposes of this video, just know that they're really cool models, and you get lots of them. So let's, with no further ado, let's get this thing opened and show you what we've got inside. So the first thing to show you is the box you get under the sleeve. It's a really pretty box. The Cadian 8th flag flying proud on the front, Creed's own, still flying the flag in his absence. Though we're now under the command of his daughter, as far as I can tell. Uses the artwork from the front cover in the background, faded out through sepia, has a nice kind of almost World War II kind of feel to it, which is nice. On the back of the box, again, a nice piece of Astra Militarum kind of art. You've got a multi-gun salute from basilisks and hydras with the flags of the Astra Militarum, the Imperial Guard on the front there. Overall, really sturdy box as we've come to expect from Games Workshop for these army boxes. But nothing more really to say on it, so I'm going to crack it open and show you what's inside. Okay, so this is what you're going to see basically when you pull the sleeve out of the box. Comes in its own little pull-out tray, as we've come to expect. A good healthy amount of plastic, I'm sure you'll agree. A mix of multiple units. We'll take them as we come off the top. So we'll start with these ones. These are the new weapons batteries. So you get 3 sprues for this. Essentially it's a double weapon sprue, so 2 identical sprues for the actual guns. You've got the heavy las cannon on this side, the bombast just there, and then the components for the multi-shot missile launcher. There definitely isn't the Nurble-Werfer that Werf's Nurbles in the middle there. You get a single sprue that covers off the chassis, the carriages themselves, and then the various crew bits. Makes 3 crew per gun. And again, you've got quite a nice mix of different kind of hand gestures and signals that the sergeant of the unit is doing. You've got loaders with cannon shells, you've got cannon shells you've got loose you can put on the base. And it comes with kind of these ammo boxes as well that you can use to make almost like mini dioramas for this unit. And really kind of build them into something a bit more characterful than just, you know, a big gun at the back of your army. Moving on. Next up we have the Sentinel. Focusing on this side of the box first. The new Sentinel is a single kind of sprue. It's a dual sprue, but a single kind of combined piece with all the parts to make one. You can build it armoured or unarmoured. You've got the armoured kind of viewport there, or this kind of scout kind of cage that sits over the top. You've got autocannon, plasma cannon, heavy flamer, multi-laser, las cannon. It's got a hunter killer missile and the chainsword attachment built in, as well as the searchlight. You've got 4 different heads that you can use for your pilot, which is quite cool. Just on the right hand corner here. Yeah, it's a really nice kit, really cool kit. It's got locator plugs for the legs as well, so they come in a fixed pose of left foot forward or right foot forward. I'm assuming if you had a bit of modelling time and a bit of a sharp knife and a bit of a drill, you could probably do a custom pose as well. I don't think that would be too difficult to do. You just need to take out the locator pin in the middle of this section here, and you'd be able to pose the legs pretty much how you want. Obviously, I wouldn't necessarily recommend that. It's always possible it goes a bit wrong and you end up with a very kind of funky chicken-looking Sentinel. But if you're feeling up to the task, then it's always fun to play around. Some stowage as well, which is nice to see. You've got a folded-up las carbine and some backpack stuff and bedrolls, so you can really kind of make it your own and give it a nice kind of lived-in feel, make it feel very personal to the pilot in particular. On to the infantry then. So the first kit we get is the command sprue. This is listed on the box as the Cadian Command Squad. When we do the Codex review in the next video, as I said earlier, we'll go through the differences between the two types of command squad you can build. Sculpted flag with a Cadian logo on it, has the Cadian gate in the middle. Again, because this is the Cadian Command Squad, that makes sense. I'm kind of assuming that the current generation Command Squad, for both the current Cadian one and the Castians, will remain in play. And we'll see the option to either kit bash across or build a generic Command Squad out of those kits, and this one is the new kind of specific Cadian one, potentially. I would have liked to have seen a non-Cadian banner in here, but you can see how jam-packed the sprue is. I'm not sure where they would have fitted it, to be brutally honest with you. Lots of cool options. You've got one of each of the special weapons: melter, plasma grenade, flamer. No long las, as far as I can tell. No sniper rifles in command squads anymore, or at least not built out of this kit. There are a huge number of heads. You've got flat caps, bold heads, helmets. There are two options on the bottom here which don't have the faces on, but you do have the push-fit gas mask design that we saw in the Caskins available. So what you can do is essentially create hostile environment style troops out of this, which is nice and cool. You've got the medic options. There's bits of kind of base decoration like shell holes in tarmac here, tank traps. You've got backpacks and stowage. So yeah, you can really kind of do quite a lot of conversion work and customization with this unit. It's a really nice collection of bits. Moving on then to the shock troopers. These are two sets of identical sprues, so we'll just focus on one. We won't really go through both. It makes 10 models. You get one of each of the special weapons, so you've got the plasma gun, the melter gun again. So if you had this and the command squad, I'm assuming the parts are cross-compatible. Given that this does follow the new design of Games Workshop's models, where the bodies, so the torso and the legs, are kind of like a mono pose, and then you change out the arms to change the pose, change the heads to change the appearance of the model. So I'm assuming that for the most part these will be cross-compatible, and the torso width will be fixed across the entire range. Don't know if it's going to be compatible with the current design stuff. It does look like these torsos might be a little bit narrower potentially, but I've not confirmed that. Please don't take it as gospel. Please do check it yourself. One thing that should be mentioned, which is very cool, is you get about 25 heads in this sprue for 10 models, so you can really go all out on making models quite unique. You could have 2 squads of 10 with completely different heads on every single model, which is very cool. You do get some base decoration as well. You've got kind of sandbags, you've got blank knives, you've got backpacks. So there's lots of ways you can create that kind of tell a story with these models and tell a story with these bases, which I really appreciate. I think that's very cool. Or equally, you could pull them off of this and put them onto the weapons batteries and kind of really fortify those in, have the sandbags built in as kind of like extra chocking on the wheels, or protecting the crew. So yeah, lots of options. They look beautiful. They're really nice models. I really like the new proportions for them. I think there is some debate about whether they're too tall compared to Space Marines, but these are going to be a joy to build and paint. The proportions are much better. They're much more realistic in terms of how they look on the table. And with Primaris kind of taking over from Firstborn, I think there'll still be enough of a height difference on most tables you're not going to notice too much. Or if you do notice, you're not going to worry too much. I certainly won't anyway. The other thing that's quite cool, one of the options for your sergeant appears to be an autogun. So there is a drum-fed autogun on this sprue as well, which is, you know, whether you'd ever use it, I have no idea, but it looks cool, so that's good enough reason for many. Moving on then. The standard kind of GW art divider, you get a double-sided one. You've either got the Lord Solar, who I do like this art. I think it's very cool. Kind of the fluttering banners marching down the procession, and then Lord Solar himself on his semi-artificial horse, rearing up at the front. It's a very nice piece of artwork. And then on the back, this is a kind of a section of a much larger, as far as I can tell, new piece of art. The Cadia Stands taking on some demons in a jungle world. You've got a few more firing in the background back here, and then the big man himself up front here. There are a couple more characters down below, so when I find the full page when we do the Codex review in the next video, you'll get a proper look at that as well. Then bottom of the box is the kind of the gaming side. So you get the limited edition Codex, you get the army cards and all your bases. We'll go through the Codex, as I say, in detail in another video. But the actual kind of look and feel of this thing, it's got that soft touch cover that you get with the new limited editions. Again, kind of Lord Solar on the front and centre, and then the new Rogal Dawn on the rear of the book. It looks great. I'm really excited to get the Rogal Dawn in hand and see what that looks like. I will give you a quick sneaky peek at the contents page, just to whet your appetite for the following video. So you've got all your lore at the front end, then a showcase of models for 16 pages. It's 152 pages long in total. Your rule section is the vast majority of that. It's about 100 pages in total, including the Crusade rules, which, by the way, are amazing. I cannot wait to explain these to you guys. I'm stoked to send my guard on Crusade. I think it's going to be great. So yeah, overall, really nice book. Really happy with it. I do have a couple of bugbears. When we get to talking about it in detail, I'll explain my kind of concerns about some bits of it. But as a whole, I think this is going to bring the guard right up into into contention for a really strong army in 9th edition. I'm really looking forward to getting some on the table. The army cards, I've not opened these yet, as you can see. We'll open those as part of the Codex review. I'm not expecting any kind of surprises. It'll be your orders, it'll be your psychic powers, it'll be your stratagems, and maybe some of your secondary objectives, maybe. I don't know. But I'm not expecting anything too exciting in there that we won't see in the Codex. Give you a quick flick through the build instructions, just to give you a sense of the models. So command squad's up first. Various different options for things like your commander, different weapons, different pointing, kind of gesturing arms, whether they're holding a helmet or wearing it. Backpack options. Then you've got your actual command squad itself, so you've got your regimental standard and various special weapons you can build in. Again, there's quite a lot of options on these guys. You've got things like the command vox, you've got the medic, you've got veterans with combat weapons. So you can do quite a flexible unit out of this kit. It does go quite a long way, and that's the kind of the base decorations I was talking about earlier. You can see there. We do have a little bit of tactical rock, but it's only on the commander, so I'm sure people won't mind too much. The shock troops, again, sergeant options for different builds. The 20 odd heads that you get with the kit. And then, as we've seen in some of the leaks from Warcom, shock troopers get 2 special weapons in the unit, or up to 2 special weapons. So it gives you the build options of how to do all of those. As I mentioned, it is the monopose body style, so the kind of each trooper has a unique but replicated body, and then choice of arms to make them a bit different. So things like this one here, you can either have running with 2 hands on the gun or 1 hand on the gun and shouting. So you've got some ways of making them unique. At the end of the day, Guard are a horde army. It's really difficult to get dynamic looking models that are also unique across multiple squads. That's just the limitations of injection molding at the end of the day. But I think these are going to look really cool on the table. That's possibly my favourite pose, the running with the lasgun out. So yeah, overall, really happy with the designs, really happy with how they look. I think Games Workshop have smashed out the park, to be honest, with the new Cadians. I think they look great. Onto the weapons batteries, because I know that some people will be interested and there's going to be questions about it. Can you magnetize these? The answer is sort of. So the chassis is common, the carriage is common for all 3 gun designs. The gunner is optional, as you can see down here. You can have just the two turning handles for elevation without having a gunner on them. The difference is that both the bombast and the heavy las cannon both use the same fixing points. These two C19, C20 points here. They're common across those two, and because of the depth of the pegs and the way the pegs interact with the gun, I think you might struggle to magnetize that. You might be able to do something like a through bar, if you put a pin through both of these and then magnetize those onto the carriage maybe. That might be a way to do it, and then you just pull the pin out, change the gun, and leave these two in place. And then the multi-shot missile launcher has its own unique mounting system in the middle. It doesn't use these two parts here, and doesn't use the gun shield. Or it has a gun shield, but it's a different design. It's not C17, it's C18. As you can see here, it just kind of splits up the middle, whereas those two have the common one. So that you could magnetize again on this baseline here into the carriage, and then you could swap out between the various guns, but you might have to do some sort of solution around how you fix the las cannon and the bombast to these two parts here and the gun shield. Other than that, I think it's very doable. I think you could quite easily magnetize these as a kit as a whole. And so you've got the 3 crew that sit around the gun. And then the armoured or scout sentinel, as I say, you can build both out the same kit. That's the leg pose I was telling you about earlier, about having the locator pins so you can go for fixed poses to stop yourself having a chicken on your hands. Overall, looks like a fairly simple kit to build. The pilot's legs are built into the bottom, and then you build the body and put it in place, basically. Obviously, if you're doing an armoured version, you could just not do the pilot, no one's going to notice. Again, could you magnetize this? Difficult to say. I think it's possible. Where's the armoured one specifically? There we go. Yeah, I think you possibly could. I think you'll just have to be a bit careful about where you put the magnets and what size magnets you use, because you've got obviously this ledge here at the front of the canopy. That's where the armoured section mounts onto. You might be able to use small pins to have the scout top removable maybe, and then just kind of swap in and out for the armoured panels maybe. Or actually no, it looks like the cage is in place regardless, so you could potentially do something around that, maybe with either pins or magnets, and have those 3 sections that slot in place and maybe held together with that top piece. It looks like the top piece also glues down onto these rather than onto the cage, so that might actually be able to just be lifted off as a single component. So if you built that section there, the 3 sides and the lid, build that separately for the Sentinel and then dry fit it, see if it fits or not, would be my advice on that one, and then you don't need to do any magnetising. So yeah, it looks like you can swap in and out for the Armoured or Scout, which is very cool. Nice flexible kit. Only other thing to really talk about is the transfer sheets. So this is identical to the one we saw with the Kassakin and Into the Dark. It's the new Cadian transfer sheet specifically. You've got your squad numbers, command squad numbers, Kassakin numbers, various kind of small details, Indomitus Crusade symbols, hazard markings, unit numbers, or other generic numbering systems, card symbols for your Sentinels and any kind of veteran units. So it's got a decent amount of flavour to it. It's very Cadian skewed, but you've got like rank badges, things like that you can put in to have corporals in your squad. So if you had your sergeant and you wanted to know who your second in command was, should the sergeant be shot out, then you've got the option to put corporal transfers on. That's quite a nice touch. Other than that, it's just a nice refresh of what we've seen previously. Nothing too exciting with those. But yeah, okay guys, I'm going to leave it there for this one. As I say, come back soon. There'll be another video posted up very shortly about the in-depth Codex review and the army cards reviews, which I'm sure that people are more keen about. So yeah, check back in for that. As ever, any comments, any feedback, please do leave it in the comment section below. And hope to see you again soon. Thank you very much. Bye.